All right. And that is what I get for starting the stream. That's what I get for starting the stream without doing an audio test. So I'm going to put a marker here. Where is it? 9:26. This is when you actually want to start this. So the past few streams, I've been working on learning the C major language and doing audio prototyping, audio algorithms, DSP prototyping. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to work on my plugin, Valentine, that I've been working on for some time now. Played with it a little bit last time. And I just want to be done. I think it's quite close. It is 0.2.0, and I'm gonna, once this new refreshed UI is finished, because we've started with, let me find the last iteration. Looks like this. And with the help of my wife, who is a very talented graphic designer, we worked out a new design in Figma, and I've been knocking out a bunch of different changes. And we're nearing the end. There are a few tweaks that need to happen with the sizing of some components, but as you can see, what is here is pretty much in the spec, and I like it a lot more than what was there. So yeah, I feel like I'm actually inspired by something that Bacon Paul said, who is a very important person who helped me figure out how to establish Valentine as an open source project, a very important contributor to Surge, an open source synthesizer plugin that is very cool, that you should totally check out, especially considering that is where I have a channel to talk about the stuff that I do. He pointed out, because I was talking about the streams that I'm doing in Discord, and he pointed out, you can always iterate. It's best to just get the V1 done, because I think I said something like I was really happy with how the algorithm was going, this downsampling algorithm. And Valentine has a downsampling algorithm. It does, it has this like something that does downsampling and some other stuff, right? So, as I was working on actually, this would be interesting. Let's see. What am I doing? Right as I was working on this little effect, right, in C major, I thought, wow, I half jokingly said, well, I'm going to want to put this in Valentine. Maybe, because it'd be cool to have a little bit of this going on in combination with, I think at least. Maybe. But, you know, as we discovered last time, you know, I'm using a drum sample here, but it would actually be a little bit nicer to use some soulful chords. Sure. You know. I know. Whatever. Anyway, that's not really the point of what we're doing today. The point of what we're doing today is finishing this info display according to, or at least, you know, making some significant movement towards that. So here is how it is in the specification. We've got the cute little toady watermark on it. We have the type here, but it's in the font, the Roboto mono that's in the rest of the UI. But yeah, so before we do that, let's look at what we've done so far with this. So speaking of, and I don't know, I think he may have just said this in conversation. You know, the person who I refer to as their handle is Bacon Paul. When I was asking them about how to open source, I think it was in one of these conversations that he mentioned doing little things such as creating IDs. Actually, I shouldn't have closed this, right? Creating IDs that can be attached to a build. Oops, that is the wrong password. There we go. Right here. So it'd make it a lot easier for users to report, for bug reporting and things like that. And I suppose also just for one's own personal edification when you're trying to, you know, figure out, do bisecting. It's good to have as much as information as possible. And he mentioned using the, doing something super simple, which was creating a build ID out of the commit hash, the leading commit hash in that built the plugin. So that's the first thing that I've done here, and actually just asked ChatGPT to write me something. I hope I actually haven't. I figured, you know, I'm mature and responsible enough now to just kind of try things, and maybe if this is terrible, somebody will tell me, or I will find out some way. But so it actually turned out being pretty simple. You can just add, I was able to simply add this function to cmake lists. So whenever the project is configured, it will if you can find Git, it will find the hash, shorten it, and then it will deposit that into using this, which I didn't actually know that you could do this in CMake. So now I have to find a template here, where, as you can see, this is a placeholder for whatever the build ID is going to be. So I have this little script, I guess, that runs in CMake lists during configuration, and then that pulls the hash, puts it into this generated version header, which is then what I reference when I need to use the commit hash, like in this info box. Yeah, that was the first thing. And then, oh yeah, I decided to start, and actually I could have squashed something, I think. Maybe I just trying to be super atomic, right? One thing I was already keeping track of was the version number, right? So I have this version here. This is whenever I cut a release, I will iterate this, and that will be the commit, and then I'll push it as a release, which is nice because I am referring to this elsewhere in the project itself in order to make this info view. But now I'm moving that and I think you'll see how I was doing it before. Unless I accidentally dropped the change that deleted the old way of doing it. I think I did. Interesting. Well, that will be actually the first thing to do. I was doing a lot of rebasing. So let's see where else we're using current version. This was the see. No, I'm not using it where I used to. I'm just wondering where the commit is, because I used to define the version somewhere else. At least I used to make the version accessible to the plugin in a different place, but I am not finding it right now. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Oh, no, that was me adding those files to CMake lists. Huh. Okay, well, whatever. It's just always a little unnerving to have things change, you know. And not really know where that came from. Ah, yes, it used to be a target compile definition. Okay, well, whatever. So, okay. And then we implemented, the idea here was that we would have this little cute toady icon. You click it, it spawns this info text view. You click it again, info text view goes away. Right. And So here's how we did that. Let's see. We've got the basic info panel here. And this was something that used to scare me a lot more when I was not as comfortable with doing UI stuff. And the problem was the fact that I wanted this component that is defined. This is a child of this larger preset component, right? I wanted that to spawn something that would then cover the rest of the plugin. And the main question would be how, right? Because I don't think, I mean, even if this is possible, this would feel really weird, right? Like for example, if to have a more simple case, say I wanted to press this button and I wanted this view to cover up the preset bar, right? That would be pretty straightforward to implement, right? Because this view, the thing that gets spawned when you press this little guy, could simply be another child of this preset bar panel, right? You know, you'd have, and I actually think I probably need to, yeah, let's make this font a little bit larger. Right, so you have the info button, which is that. These are out of order, but save, load, preset button, right? Previous, next preset. We have the bypass, right? These are all components that are owned by the same class, this preset panel. So it would be pretty easy to do something like have like a, you know, or it'd be a, you know, right, we have an info panel and then minfo button. When it gets clicked, you know, it's like minfo dot or something like this. And then other things, right? We wanted to cover everything. Preset. I don't know this. There's no such method like this, but conceptually, you know, we'd want to make sure that this panel then always painted on top, because the whole point is it's supposed to be a completely different view. You're not supposed to be able to operate the plugin, and it's not like it's a huge deal, because if you want to actually operate the plugin again, you just click it and, you know. However, things get a little more complicated when you want the thing that's being shown to is kind of escape, I guess, the visual scope of what is being shown here, for two reasons. Reason number one, how do we get the bounds? Right, like we only are supposed to know about the bounds that are given to us and make decisions based on that. If we only know about our own boundaries, so how are we supposed to know how big to make the view that spawns when the button is clicked. Does Juice even let a child component be drawn larger than its parent? I actually don't think so. I think I might just clip or something like that, right? 3. So what is the solution then? Solution is, because I just said it's kind of generally hard to reason about, to understand what's going on. The solution is to separate the logic of the button or I suppose to delegate, to make the responsibility for actually creating this component, to move it somewhere else, move it to a party for whom it would be easier to create this. And naturally, the party for whom that would be the easiest, I think it's in main panel. Yes, it's in main panel. The main panel is a composite of all of these different panels. So we've got two meter panels. We've got a top component panel, a bottom component panel, and this preset panel. And we also have this info panel. So given that the Valentine main panel is responsible for all of these things, it is then a lot easier to give it something like this info panel. And this is how you, I think that this is how you indicate that it should always be, yes. So I instantiate this in such a way that I wish I could annotate this without having to. You know what? And then, so we own the info panel at this very top level, and we wanted to cover everything. So we just give it the bounds. Boom. But of course, how do we then coordinate the creation of this? What we have to do is set some callbacks, which, as you can see, is already the very prominent pattern in the Juice UI code. You can see that in this, all this button setup, right? We're setting callbacks. Well, not that one. In many of the button setup, we are setting callbacks. So how do we use callbacks in order to make this, in order to delegate the responsibility of creating the component to an actor for whom it is easier to create that component? Well, let's go back to the preset panel. And part of the answer is, oh no, yeah, I was about to say the wrong thing. So we have this info button callback that is held by the preset panel. And I think we take it, yes. It's one of the arguments needed to create our preset panel. So let's see what we put in there when we create our... easy. So this is very similar to the, logic with those on-click methods for the buttons. When the button is clicked, as we've noted that is what is that what I called it? I'm going to rename that actually. Info button. Is that? No, that's too precious. So when when the info button is clicked, we know that the info panel should be made visible. Let's see how we use that callback in here. Info button, callback. Yes. Yes, of course, because we have to, in order to preserve the lifetime of the callback, we store as a member variable here in the preset panel, and then we give it to the info button itself, which was actually kind of strange because I thought that I could just pass it. Maybe something I did wrong here. I thought I would simply be able to pass this in and it would copy, but it actually wasn't working when I did that, which was odd. I mean, meaning I thought that I could do something like this. Oh, I know why that didn't work. Never mind. Do I know? Oh, whatever. So yeah, so the info button is just a normal drawable button. I've set the on-click callback to our info button callback, which at the main panel makes it visible. But then, of course, how do you dismiss it? Oh yeah, it also leads to the GitHub. So let's go look at the info panel. And here, yes, I've also done this by callback, right? We've got this mouse up callback. So where do I set that? Wait, where do I set that up? Oh, that'd be in the main panel, of course. It's right here. Now that I think of it, it might be nice to move these, do a little bit of refactoring on the fly. This would make things a little bit more obvious, I think. So this preset panel gets a callback that then is passed to this button. That callback, when the button is pressed, sets this to visible. I've been saying spawn, but that's actually not true because, spawning kind of implies instantiating it. It's already instantiated. It's already there. And then this component in and of itself has a callback that's called onMouseUp that is set to set it not visible. And the reason I've used callbacks in both cases is in order to, by delegating the visibility and or existence of this object to a higher level, it makes it easier to understand what it's going to do, as you can see here. It's also a bit safer. It's better to, because I could do this a different way, right? I could, you know, could I do it a different way? Let's hack. Do I dare do this? I'm going to try. First of all, I'm going to make sure that after my little refactor, the things are working. Sure, because this presupposes that I want the panel to always exist, which is fine. It's like there's not a lot going on with it. It's not a huge like memory impact, or it's not a huge burden to have this just sitting around, right? But let's say we don't always want it sitting around for whatever reason, right? We could do it a little bit differently. We could allocate it to the heap, right? And instead of let's see, what would I do? So instead of setting it visible when the info panel is clicked, we could heap equals is it TBL or tote back? Tote back. And oh yeah, now I'd actually need to give it this callback. But it would be info panel heap dot reset. And then and what else? So now if info panel heap dot set bounds panel bounds, right? So what did I just do? So instead of instantiating it right when the main panel constructs, rather I am deferring instantiation of the info panel until we actually need it. In other words, when the user clicks on it. So, or clicks on this little button. So user clicks on the little button. We create the info panel. We give it a callback that will, from this scope of the main panel, call reset to deallocate deallocate, excuse me, or to destroy the panel. And I wonder if I have to do any kind of like, do I have to remove? Yeah, I mean, probably. I feel like that's something that I'll have to do in order to prevent a crash. Yeah, the more I actually try out this this way of doing it, the less that I like it. Let's see if that builds. Okay, that builds. Let's see if we can run it without crashing. I think my computer is mad at me because I re-signed my live binary in order to allow attaching to a debugger. Something's different. I've started building on an M1 for the first time. There's something different about that process where it was whatever. I might get into it later, but let's see. Oh, nothing happens. I wonder why that is. Well, let me attach a. Oh, There's another thing we need to do, and that is heap dot set bounds, not dot set bounds, get local bounds. I think that's probably what happened here. Oh, okay. It has. Oh, nope. There it goes. I suppose I will have to try a little harder to get it to sign correctly. Let's see. Oh. Let's just see. Hey, okay. Yeah, see. So yeah, so that is a way of doing this that does not involve having it hang around. And this is a lot safer, and like having a class call to delete itself is not a great idea. It's not something you're really supposed to do. So rather, we defer the call up to the thing that owns it. That is one way that we could have done that, but we didn't. And I'm going to revert it because even though it works, as you can see, it actually requires a lot more code. And it seems like the main benefit. Wait, did I? Oh, yes, because I also moved it. Let's see, info panel. Here we go. Because that is a little refactor I want to keep. So we did that. Is there anything else to share about that? The text we'll have to work on. There's also, I did a bad thing. Oh, also I need to turn. Make sure that everything oh, Clang format command. Did I not? Hold on. Jank. But I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Let's see what happens when we try to. Will you format? Okay, that looks like. Hey, okay, well, it's working. I don't know why, even though I've set it to path, right, I'm expecting it to, but you know, whatever, I guess. Oh yeah, let's get rid of that. Let's make sure everything builds. It builds. Great. As usual, kinks with the new setup. So let's see how the text here is actually implemented. Good first step would be getting it to use the font indicated here. Let's see. So there's a bunch of code here that is figuring out generally where to put the text. And then this lambda here for just plopping down the text line by line. I'll talk about the URL in a second. Let's just concentrate on how to best get the font right. And I'm a few minds of it, and you'll see why in a second. So let's go to look and feel. And let's borrow, because I forget the name of the file exactly. Ah, yes. Oops. TBL font. What is the function? Is it get font? Get, oops. Get font. Yes, it is. Oh, I need to get a font holder. So this should be fine for me to let's see what happens if we just do set font bag. Are we already in the tote bag namespace? Yes, we are. Font holder get font. Let me remind myself of the lifetime of the fonts. So font holder, this will get a font. Ah, I see. Okay. So no, I actually need to and this actually is going to influence font holder. And I need to include this here. Robobato mono. I think we're supposed to be using the mono for this. And where are we getting height from? With height. I wonder if that is redundant. You know what? I bet it's redundant because we're already defining the height with this current implementation. So let's just see what happens when, instead of using whatever default font is set, we're going to not only set the color, we're going to set the font using this font holder, and then use that to place the text. And eventually this will come up. Has it already come up? Yes. Whoops. And hey, there we go. It's a little small. Also, is that happening before? I don't think so. Interesting. Wait, no, it probably was. I just wasn't checking the, either way. Nice. Now, so we can, let's do some, let's see. This will probably get squashed. You know, so I have some thoughts. One is this works in terms of defining the getting the right font that we want. I'm not sure. Maybe that looks right. But there's two things that I don't like. One, it moves where it kind of distributes where decisions about fonts for the plugin are made to a new place, not just in the look and feel, but then also in this info panel. So further down the line, it might be harder to understand how to make changes. And also it requires, it's a bit wasteful. It will require this font that's already in use somewhere else to be instantiated and kept alive here, which is not a huge deal, but it'd be nice to avoid it. So let's see if there's a better way of doing it. Let's see. Probably the most straightforward way of doing this. Except we want Roboto Mono. I was about to say the easiest way would be perhaps to simply define all of these as text labels and apply them that way. And that way, you could just whatever is in this function here for get label font, that would take care of itself, and then we could centralize, if we wanted to use a different font. But the problem is here, we want to use, actually, I'm not sure if that's Roboto. That is Roboto Mono. Okay. So as you can see, we currently have this limitation where if we define a label, we are going to, unless it's specifically one of these text labels here, we're going to give it the Roboto regular font. But I suppose what might be a little bit smarter is adding a new method here. I feel like this is not going to be idiomatically correct, but it feels a little bit better. And the reason for this function will be it's almost like a, wait, you know what? Okay, I'm thinking of two different things. I'm thinking, well, we could just expose the font holder. Ooh, I kind of like that. And the reason I like that is because all of these other functions are meant to be used, you know, with this you know, I'm going to try this because I'll finish the thought before I reject it. We could do this two different ways, right? We could define a function called right, and that will returns a reference to the font holder to whomever needs fonts, right? So that solves the issue of having multiple of these. Not that there's anything technically or architecturally wrong with that, but it's potentially inefficient, and maybe a little bit difficult to understand. You know, so we could just basically pretend this is kind of a singleton, right? So whenever someone needs it, get a, well, instead of a pointer, a reference, and get whatever fonts you need. But then that also, yeah. And there's this that is in a way more straightforward because I can simply define here, get info text font, and that's all you need to know. And I will define here in the implementation what that actually means. The one problem is it doesn't feel like that's really what the look and feel method is for. Or the look and feel pattern is for. But you know what? I don't care. So, choose font, look and feel, get info text font. Return font holder dot. It's basically just a pass-through function. And it's gonna be So then here, we'd do instead if const auto look and feel equals dynamic cast tote bag look and feel get. So if the look and feel, okay, I must have done, oh, well, yeah, I need to include it. Wait, I should copy the header. Oh boy. This must be a pointer or a reference to a complete class type or void pointer. I'm not, wait. What do you mean? Oh. Oh, that gets the reference. Oh, this is messy. I've had to do this before. Flat. Was it here? Yes. Here is the incantation. Get info. Oh, LNF. F. Get info text font. Right. So instead of instantiating our own font holder, we are instead going to, if the look and feel that this class has is the tote bag one, set the font to the info text font. Otherwise, just set it to whatever. Although I should probably instead assert. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that works. Great. is not a good comment. You know what? I'm just going to feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay. And the next thing I'd like to tackle is getting this watermark graphic in. Because that sounds more fun than although something is bugging me. And that is how Live is kind of misbehaving whenever I try to open it back up. I think I'm going to end the stream and try to figure that out. So thank you for joining me. Next time I'll still be working on this, making progress on this, and hopefully with fewer bugs.